It's been years since Metsker Amphitheater was closed, but it is back in the news now. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the Ford Center. We're going to talk about Robert Stadium and a whole lot more on This Week in Evansville. Hi, I'm Johnny Kincaid. Thanks for taking a little time to join us here for This Week in Evansville. Want to ask you to do a couple of favors. One is hit that like button. You can smash it more than once during the course of this podcast. That helps to elevate us in the rankings so that more people will see that we exist, and then we draw more viewers and share this information with more people as a result of that. Also, we've got some great episodes coming up, so we want you to subscribe. Do that because we've got gubernatorial candidates that are going to be coming on. The mayor is coming soon, and we're going to talk to congressional candidates as well. All of those things coming up, and you won't miss a single episode if you subscribe, so be sure to do that. And this week, we're going to talk a little nostalgia, you know, because that's the way people get when they start talking about the entertainment facilities here in the city of Evansville. We're very, very fortunate to have had the kind of venues that we've had here in town. And some of that's fading away, like Metsker Amphitheater. But of course, we have the Ford Center downtown. The thing of it is that there's been calls. The Ford Center's been brought up in the news, and I think that's what also brought Metsker Amphitheater back up again was because we were talking about digging into the finances of the Ford Center. And there are calls for that going out right now for the mayor and the city council to roll up their sleeves, get into the books, you know, hire somebody who can look at all of the details and answer the question, is the Ford Center turning a profit? And is it impacting the community? You know, are we seeing positive financial boost to our local economy as a result of the Ford Center being downtown? And I want to ask you just to answer this question, and you can type in your response in the comments and let us know. Has the Ford Center lived up to your expectations? You know, I can remember there was a lot of hype when they were building that thing. They were talking about how great it was going to be and how it was basically the savior of downtown. It was going to revitalize downtown Evansville. Well, has it done that? Has it lived up to all of that hype? Have we gotten what we expected out of the facility? Or has the Ford Center been underutilized? Are there just not enough events for it to have that effect of lifting up those businesses downtown and really helping them to prosper? You know, because that was the idea of going downtown, was so that restaurants and other businesses downtown would be lifted up with all of the people coming to town to go to events in that facility. You know, the Ford Center is ranked as the 115th largest arena in the country. This is out of all of the arenas that have sports and concerts as venues. We're 115th, which is pretty good for little old Evansville, you know? So I consider us blessed and really fortunate in that. When the Ford Center was built, it was built actually a little bit smaller, just fewer seats than Robert Stadium had. And people were really upset about replacing Robert Stadium. And I mean, this happens anytime that you're dealing with a venue with some great music memories attached to it, especially, you know, Robert Stadium has had some phenomenal shows. I've had people talking about seeing Elvis there and seeing Kiss in that facility and other major acts. The Moody Blues was my favorite. I went to see the Moody Blues playing with the Evansville Philharmonic. They did that in the Ford Center, and oh, what an amazing show that was. It was phenomenal. So, you know, we all have our memories attached to the facility. I get that. But the simple fact is that facility needed a whole bunch of work. And that's why the decision was made to tear it down and build the Ford Center downtown. But, you know, we went about the same size. Maybe we could have gone bigger. And maybe just because a stadium is getting older, maybe it's not necessarily outdated, because if you look at the list of large stadiums across the country, you'll find plenty of stadiums that are aging, but are still considered state of the art and still have big acts performing in them. The Greensboro Coliseum, 23,000 seat facility, built in 1959, still being utilized today. The prestigious Madison Square Gardens was built in 1968. And look at how much use that facility still gets. I mean, in some top-notch shows going in there. In Louisville, Freedom Hall, Freedom Hall was built in 1956. 19,000 seats, great place. The Cow Palace in San Francisco, one of my favorite venues, 16,000 seater, built in 1941. More than 20 years after that facility was built, they were hosting the Beatles in that facility. John, Paul, George, and Ringo took to the stage of the Cow Palace in their U.S. tour. And I had the honor of announcing truck and tractor pulls inside the Cow Palace. And here's the thing. When we were doing those shows, this was in the 80s, so the facility was more than 40 years old at the time. It didn't seem old. It didn't seem dated. The city of San Francisco continuously upgraded that facility as they went, so that it was still a great place to do a show, and still is today. So we can't go back and change that decision, right? We're not going to unring the bell, but the simple fact is maybe Robert Stadium could have been upgraded enough to be viable. But again, that's water under the bridge now. But then also in kind of close timing proximity to when Roberts was torn down was Metsker Amphitheater, the decision there to no longer hold events. Metsker was an 8,500 seat facility. And again, another one of those places where everybody talks about great shows. They talk about wonderful memories going to that facility. I emceed the Legends of Motown there. I think it was 1995, maybe. Legends of Motown was just a phenomenal show. It was Temptations and Ford Tops and the Spinners and Martha and the Vandellas and Junior Walker and the All-Stars, all on the same bill. And to have the honor of being able to go out and introduce each one of those acts to a crowd of 8,500 people, sold out concert, man, that was a real honor. It's a great memory that I have of that facility. The Doobie Brothers, I think, were the last show there, and the concert promoter gave me tickets for that show, and I'm a huge Doobie Brothers fan. And then after that, there just weren't any more shows going into Metsker Amphitheater. See, but they cite the fact that upgrades were needed even back then, and now it would be millions of dollars to make it a viable place for events once again. But it's our history with those entertainment venues is kind of part of the pattern for Evansville. This is what I really want to get to here, because what we've done as a city is we've decided not to take care of what we have. Instead, we want to go for the newest, the latest, the greatest, the shiny thing that exists just over the horizon. We want to do that instead of doing the maintenance on the things that we have. And so then it starts falling in disarray, disrepair. That's what happened with Metsker. That's what happened with Robert Stadium. That regularly scheduled maintenance is part of the package with those kind of venues. And the Ford Center, the city had to lease streets in order to pay to do upgrades to the Ford Center. And wouldn't it have made sense to just have that in the budget? Oh, we're going to have to do things as we go here. It's already in the budget. So then we just go ahead and do the renovations, do the things that need to be fixed, do that on a year-to-year basis. But we don't do that. Instead, we let the decay continue until it becomes a crisis, and it has to be done. Let's take Hartke Pool as another example of that mentality. Hartke Pool is closed for this upcoming season. It's not going to open for this year. And the reason why is because it's in such disrepair. We finally have a parks director. That's great news. But the parks director has inherited parks that have been crumbling, and then they have to do something drastic like not open the pool at Hartke. And well, I'm just going to share the tour that parks director gave online to show why they have to close that facility for the year.
Making a difficult decision to close a facility is never an easy decision to make, but I want to take you along and show you some of the things that have led us to make this decision to not open Hartke Pool this summer.
Water gets pulled out of the pool, filtrated through the machine behind you, and then shot back in. Most of our returns don't work, 3 out of the 10. At this point, the rest have been crushed, which then puts the water into the ground system, thus moving dirt away, moving sand into this building, which would create voids underneath that you cannot see. And as time goes on, those concrete slabs at the top of the deck are heaving. So you can see the pile of sand coming through. It filters through the cinder block in the areas, multiple. As the sand comes through and gets higher and higher, we have to move it over here. This is just from this last year, how much sand has come through the wall.
Hartke Pool is at the end of life, and some of the things I'm going to show you: the uneven concrete deck, some of the deck chipping away in multiple areas, a lot of the cracks that you're seeing over here along the pool deck go all the way into the pool. Hartke Pool does not have a liner like a typical pool. It is our only pool that is fully concrete. From this angle, you can see there's a hole in the wall of the pool over here, just to the right of the number 6. There's a hole there. The discoloration in that is from groundwater leaking in through that hole, which obviously we're concerned about safety there with contamination. Moving over here, this is where the slide used to be. I know this was one of the community's favorite amenities of this pool, was this slide. The filtration system that is incorporated into that slide that is needed to make it function is broken in multiple places underneath this. The only way possible to fix that would be to jackhammer up all of this, completely demo this area. It wasn't just a simple replacement. For a new slide and diving board, cost estimates over $600,000 obtained within the last year for that component. In addition to the issues with the filtration for the slide, which led to its removal, have to do with the landing pool. And each pool is made specifically for the particular type of slide that's going into it. This pool, another slide would not work appropriately for this specific pool, so this would all need to be redone as well if another slide was to be put in the facility in its current state. Ultimately, we're really invested in safety as a department. We want our community to be able to enjoy all of our facilities and properties, but to be able to do so safely.
So you see all of this stuff, I mean, my question is, doesn't it make sense that you would do those things on a year-to-year basis? Oh, we have a problem with this. Let's do our best to fix it in the off season. And we budget for that every year. If you're going to have a swimming pool, you've got to have a budget to maintain that pool and keep it safe for the public to go to. We don't let it crumble for years until we have to close for a season. See, in a private industry would do that, would figure out on an annual basis, we have to do X, Y, Z. And then we're going to put the money in the budget for X, Y, Z so that those things get done. And then if we want a new shiny thing, we have to find room in the budget for it without taking away from the maintenance that we're going to do on these facilities. You close out the season, you make a list. Here's what needs to be done. Boom, you go in and you make those repairs you do, and you take care of them year to year so that it doesn't become a financial burden because we've let it go far too long, or we run the risk of just having to close the whole thing down. But instead, we keep doing bonds for buying new shiny things. We want to buy all of this new stuff when we can't take care of what we already have. It's budgeting 101. And it isn't just, it's not this administration. This administration has inherited this problem. It's not even the last administration. It's the fact that we've viewed it that way in this city for a long time. All right, so we've got to do a dose of reality here when we're talking about all of this. Because again, when we started talking about entertainment complexes, we all kind of went nostalgic and thought about all the wonderful shows and things that we saw and did, and the good old days. Pools, parks, entertainment facilities, see, they can all be fixed and maintained if we just adjust our priorities a little bit to actually do that. But some things are just never coming back. See, and that's where this all leads. Some things are never coming back. Robert Stadium is gone. Plain and simple. The Ford Center may or may not live up to its expectations in the future. I'll always have fond memories. Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band is the first big act playing in the Ford Center. Going backstage to meet Journey when they were there. But, I'll also wind up wondering if the younger generation here is going to develop an attachment and fondness for the Ford Center like what our generation developed with Robert Stadium and Metsker Amphitheater. I mean, is that going to exist into the future? Metsker Amphitheater is not likely to come back. I think we just have to realize that. It's been gone a long time. It's deteriorated more and more over that time. So the cost of renovation of it continues to go up. We're $1 billion in debt as a community. And justifying fixing that up, we may just have to just let it go. Give the land to the zoo. I'm pretty sure that the zoo animals will appreciate not hearing the loud music. It's not exactly zoo animal stuff to hear the Doobie Brothers or ZZ Top or, any of the other acts in that facility. So, we just have to let it go and realize that those days are gone. See, somewhere along the line in Evansville, we have kind of screwed some things up. This community has always had just as a remarkable spirit. I sensed it from day one when I came to this community, and we're losing little bits and pieces of our individuality as a community, and some of those losses are Metsker and Robert Stadium, but we're not going to be able to bring those things back. Somehow we've kind of screwed things up a little bit, and we've lost the Freedom Festival, Thunder on the Ohio, and despite the fact that there have been attempts to try to bring Thunder on the Ohio back, it's not coming back. We're not going to have probably air shows on the riverfront unless somebody gets really determined to make that happen. Downtown parades are gone. So much more. When Mike Harvey used to come to Evansville on an annual basis to do his Mike Harvey sock hops here in town, and man, we had great crowds and a great time at those shows. I mean, we had 18,000 people show up for a sock hop for a guy playing records on a city street. But one of the things that Mike always said to me whenever he came to town was that there was something different about Evansville. So there's an atmosphere here that he can feel. I mean, we built the world's largest flag here in Evansville, Anchor Industries, back in 1980. So we have to be willing to not just to let go of some of those things from the past, but to look ahead at what our future is. What's our legacy? And that's what I just keep yearning for somebody to talk about. You know, politicians don't talk about here's where the city needs to be going. They're not vision casting. And, you know, what we need to do is look at the things that we haven't screwed up yet, maintain those things for future generations before they crumble and fall completely apart. Let your city council know that you want things fixed before we go further into debt for the latest new shiny object. Let's create a vision for this community. Let's think in terms of what makes us unique, what makes us different. What are the things that Evansville has to offer to business coming here, to relocate here? See, our city population has been decreasing over the years. County population has been increasing some, but as a whole, we're not a growth community. But maybe with vision, we can be that. People in Evansville like to talk about the fact that Owensboro has beaten us on all kinds of things as far as riverfront and entertainment goes. Well, rather than complain about them, instead, develop something yourself. Come up with a plan, an event, an activity, and let's do it. Let's develop vision for the community. Adopt a park to keep it clean and maintained. Attend a city council meeting. Become involved. Go to school board meetings. You know, the school board is overlooked. It's one of the most powerful entities in the community. Later on this year, there'll be a time for people to file to run for school board. Get involved. Don't let the same people keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. Instead, become part of the solution. So attend those meetings. And take time to pray. We pray for our community every Tuesday at noon at Citygate. And, part of our prayer is that we have an impact, that we see the city coming back to those things that made this city great. That we're not getting wrapped up in the new shiny things, and that we quit spending money that we don't have, and instead of doing bonds, we seek to have a budget surplus like we had at one time in the city. But everybody's taking their eyes off the ball. We don't watch what our politicians are doing. Our elected officials get to do things that just fly right by us because nobody knows that they're doing it. Well, the only way you're going to know is go to those meetings, go to the city council meetings, go to the school board meetings, see what's going on, and then see what needs to be changed and who you need to talk to. Sorry, I didn't mean this to be that serious of a lecture, but the truth is we've all got a role to play in this, and the crumbling of our infrastructure has to stop. And we do that by doing maintenance, not by letting it crumble until we have to just destroy it altogether. Let's stop that cycle now. One of the things to ask of your city council members, one of the things to ask of your mayor, one of the things to ask of your county commission is don't spend money we don't have. Set up budgets, require department heads to budget for the maintenance that needs to take place year-round so that we're not watching our infrastructure crumble anymore. It's a great place. I love Evansville. I'm not giving up on the city. We just need to have a new mindset to stop the decay. All right? End of lecture. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate you taking a little time to join us here on This Week in Evansville. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast. And we'll see you again next time here on This Week in Evansville.